Hello there, my name is Kraken, and welcome to a tutorial where we will see how to make multi-scene transitions in OBS or SLOBs, Streamlabs OBS, if you will. This will not be a step-by-step for the most part, but I will show what I have done in DaVinci Resolve in order to make this somewhat work. And there's probably a better way to do this, but this is how I did it real fast. So I did the usual with a Fusion composition. I then went into Fusion just to set something up. The standard with a transparent background, a merged node to keep everything, and then directly out. All right. So then what I then needed was a background. Now I went for blue because I have the green here, and that's gonna get a bit messy. But this can be green or blue. It doesn't really matter. Or you can set it to be a custom color if that's what you prefer. If you have a little like varied, if you have red in the background and you just think that would be easier, you can definitely do that. But I'll just keep it a blue because blue screen. And I have a big old green cloth behind me. Anyway, so it does fit inside of this, the main merge we have down here. But I just decided to make it real big and then make it fit where this is. So that means that the rectangle here is at minus 15 degrees and is then just fitted in. My little bar here is also just being real big because I fitted everything to size and then I went and actually made the scale of my main merge down here. So if I set this to 1, everything goes down and looks a bit more reasonable. This only takes up this much space. A background for the color, a background for the color again, and some merges. I mean, it's not really rocket science, this one. But then whenever all that was set and done, I just went and took the scale here and set it to 2.5. Of course, that does zoom in a little bit, so you can tweak if that's what you want. And then on the main merge, I went back and forth to, of course, set it in the middle. I have it in the middle for what? So I have it sitting there for 8 frames. Then goes to 0 and just goes up. And you can tweak and do all this, the sliding, as much as you want. And you can do a bunch of other things. It just has to be that where you want the transition to happen, like what you see, the second scene that you're switching to is in the blue. So you can do anything. You can use the fog. I'm sorry. But you can actually use my fog transition, for example, for this, and just skip the part where it fades out. Just make it go full, and have that be green or blue, and then you would get about the same effect. I actually might want to try and do that, but we'll see if that makes it into this video. I doubt it, but we'll see. Maybe. Anyway. But whenever all that is said and done, and you have your transition the way you want to make it, the good old QuickTime Cineform, remember to switch this to RGB, network optimization I like to put on, again, render at source resolution. This is already 1080p, so, I mean, I don't really need this, but I just usually do it. Oh yeah, and remember the individual clips. And then export alpha, because you need that alpha. If you don't get that alpha, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. And yes, you can see I've been testing a few different ones. But yeah, that is actually the transition part. What you then want to do is actually go into OBS that we have here. You want to go down to, you want to make a few scenes. So you want to make your scene 1 and your scene 2, whatever they may be. And you need to do this for every single scene that you want. I then have a little bit of spacer here. This is just a blank scene. That like points me to that everything below here is transitions. So, but yeah, in scene 1, what I want is the transition on the top part, and it just goes like that. But you want to toggle them off, because if you don't toggle them off, you'll run into some issues later on. And the same for scene 2. You just have the transition on top, and then everything else below. Your scene below. So nothing big there. Apart from the filters, which you put on a chroma key. In my case, I set it to blue. You can set it to whatever you want, and tweak it to your liking, and then you toggle that off. You need to toggle it off, otherwise you might have a problem. Like, if this is your game scene and you have some blue in the game, suddenly that's going to be transparent. You don't want that, I can imagine. So, again, filter, blue, and it's turned off on scene 2. So you do that on both, wherever you have the transition. Now, what we want to do is that we want to make the transition scene itself. So here we have from 1 to 2, from scene 1 to scene 2. And all we just have is scene 1 on top, and then scene 2 on the bottom. And then we do the same, or actually the opposite, on from 2 to 1, which is from scene 2 to scene 1. And they just stack on top of each other right there. Now, the next part, you need macros. You need to have some sort of macro software, and there's plenty of them out there. If you have an Elgato Stream Deck or something like that, this is perfect. I do not have one of those. I have Deckboard. So I use Deckboard. I have a little tablet standing next to me, which has this program or this app on it, and then runs this program. It is way cheaper. If you have a tablet already or a phone, you can just use it on your phone, which works great too. I just have a 7-inch tablet instead. Anyway, it's way cheaper. Works great. The only issue I have with the touchscreen on my tablet is that it clicks itself sometimes, so there's certain areas that I need to be aware of. But that's not important. Yeah, I'm sorry for that one. Well, you need a total of 7 actions for this to work. Like to at least work seamlessly. Now, my transition is set to take 3 seconds ish. So I did realize that my delay down here that you need, but we'll get to that later, was a little bit too long if I just set it to 3 seconds. So I had to shorten it down. You can tweak that as you wish. But first off, you wanna, if you start at scene 1, you want to switch to, and you just want it to cut. You don't want it to fade. You don't want it to do anything else. You just want it to cut. That should be your default setting in OBS. Just the cut. Everything else is being done by the macro. So what you want to do is select the scene, which will be from 1 to 2, because you're starting at scene 1. You then want to toggle the filter, which is the chroma key. So you want to go to scene 1 to 2, and then select scene 1, and then toggle the chroma key. And then you want to toggle the source. That's why you turned it off. Oh yeah, and actually, before I forget, again, but whenever you add the transition as a, because you add it as a media source. There you go. You see I have my transitions in here. You added it in as a media source. I'm sorry, I forgot to say that. No, not filters. I'm sorry. Properties. Jeez. But yeah, you wanted to restart playback when source becomes active, so that whenever I click this little eye here, it's gonna start, and then it's not gonna, because then you activate it, which is like the little call that we do. So, yes, toggle source. There you go. Back at it again. And then we want to wait till the source is done playing, which in this case will take like 3 seconds, but apparently it's 2 seconds, 850th of a second. I think that's how you do that. Anyway, that's how it is in my case. Then it switches to scene number 2. Then it toggles everything off again, like the filter and the transition. That's all these 2 last ones does. They just toggle it off again. And then you do everything else for 2 to 1 as well. It's a separate button. You just do it the other way around. So it goes from 2 to 1. You start at scene 2, 2 to 1. You toggle the filter on scene 2 on. You toggle the transition, which in this case is transition 2. Do not use the same transition because then it will affect everything else. You need to part them up, which is annoying. I get it, but yeah. Delay is the same because it's the same transition. You again switch to scene 1, and then you toggle the source and the filter off. So, in which case, that should give you something, and now I've set it up to this, and then your finished product should look a little bit something like this. It should work pretty flawlessly. I mean, of course, you do end up with a few issues here and there, potentially, but it shows 2 scenes at once. Hope you learned something, hope you figured something out, hope you found this helpful, if not confusing. If you did find it confusing, you can hit me up on the Discord if you have any further questions, and their links are below to everything. Thank you for watching. Bye.